Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for coming to the most important conference in TSIA's history. Let me ask you a question. What's the difference between a half sentence and a full sentence? The second half of the sentence. Let me give you an example of a half sentence that's become very popular in the C-suite, among boards, among private equity investors. I heard, or I read, that AI can take half the labor out of our services organization. Anybody heard that, a comment like that? Yeah? If you haven't heard it, it's coming. It's coming. Let me tell you the full sentence. Yeah, we can take labor out of the services model, which is great, because we need to reinvest it in the service capabilities that will drive the success of our new AI or robotic products. Now, we're going to spend the next 2 days unpacking the second half of this sentence. And honestly, this community is going to be working together to unpack the second half of this sentence probably over the next 3 to 5 years. AI is that transformational to your product line and to your services. And I'm here to say to you, as service leaders, that your ability to dispassionately and rationally defend and articulate the second half of this sentence inside your company is going to be one of the most important things you do in your entire career. Not just because you want to save jobs for your employees. Some of your employees are not going to make this cut. I'm telling you, you also have to defend the value and outcomes that your customers achieve with your technology, the share price of your stock. Those are the things at stake in your ability to dispassionately and rationally explain the logic behind the second half of this sentence when, and it will happen, the first half of the sentence walks in your office. Everybody familiar with this model? The crossing the chasm model, right? I want to talk a little bit about how AI is doing so far. Now, in this model, it basically says, hey, look, when a new technology comes out, there are these innovator customers. There's not many of them, but they're super ready to jump on what's new. And it's really important that you do well with them because they're on the journey to that big, thick, juicy part of the curve, the early and late majority customers. These are your biggest global customers. That is where the money lies. But let's take a look at what's happening with these innovators who are taking risks on these early stage AI projects. Now look, there's a lot of stories out there about how AI is doing. Some are pessimistic. This MIT report, did you see this that came out in August? Says 95% of generative AI pilots at companies are failing. That's a pretty pessimistic view of how AI is doing. You're going to hear our dear friend Jim Roth, the president of customer success at Salesforce, who's going to come on stage a little bit later and tell you a more optimistic view of how Agentforce customers are doing. You know in life, the truth is always somewhere in the middle. What's so fascinating is why MIT says these innovative early stage AI projects are failing. They're stalling in enterprises because they have bad workflows. The companies are not adopting. They have flawed integrations. The users have learning gaps. Sound familiar? It's the classic reasons that your service organizations were built inside your companies to help customers through these big challenges. And now, with these early stage AI projects, they're struggling. And they're struggling for the classic reasons that you built the services capabilities that you have today. I'm going to give you a second half sentence. AI startups are massively unprofitable, but they can get away with it, right? Let me give you the full sentence. You can't. You can't. I said, geez, how profitable is the AI business? So I asked AI, how long should an AI company expect to be unprofitable? And it came back and it said, the timelines can range from a few years to never achieving profitability at all. So if our customers are struggling with AI, and AI so far is a profoundly, we thought unprofitable SaaS was bad. Now we have profoundly unprofitable AI. So if the customers are struggling, it's not a profitable business. One could ask oneself, what in the hell are we all running so fast to get to? It's a valid question. It's a valid question. At TSIA, we think we have some insights on this. And we're announcing a new body of work that we call AI economics. The race for profits and dominance in the era of AI. Now, why do we call it a race? Because there's two people, two kinds of organizations that are running this race. Those massively funded AI startups, the open AIs of the world, they're in the race. And I'll talk more about that. They want to unseat the incumbents. Do you know who the incumbents are? You. Your company. They are out there to take away your customers, your revenue, your profits. AI economics frames in 6 important issues that your company should be tremendously interested in learning about. One is, how is this race? Those big, thick parts of the chasm model, those early majority customers, those late majority customers who are spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on enterprise technology, that's the pot of gold. If you're a little late with the innovators at your company, you can survive that. If you're not around when the big spending starts, you cannot survive that. So what is this race and how is it going to unfold? The second thing is, what are the business model options that your company could run toward that we believe could be profitable? From commodity models to high margin, highly differentiated business models. Number 3, we're going to talk about why we think pricing may be the biggest single key to profitability in the world of AI. Number 4, we're going to explain why AI is likely to be a services-led offer. Why we say at this conference, it's not the end of services. What the media is saying, what some board members are picking up, it's not the end of services. It's the beginning of the era of services. Number 5, We're going to provide insight on the service capabilities that you don't have today, but that you're going to need in the future. Where that money from the labor savings that you are going to have to take out of your organizations, you absolutely are, where does it go? And finally, we're going to talk to you about what we believe, and this is going to get iterated, and we're going to work on this as a community, but what is the services portfolio that's needed for the future? Those are the 6 things. And we're going to unpack that over the next 2 days across 3 different keynotes. My keynote, Thomas's keynote about profitability, and George Humphrey tomorrow talking about the future of tech services in the AI era. If you like what you hear, I will also tell you, we are willing to tell this story to the leadership teams of your companies. And we'll talk more about that over the course of the next couple days. As I said, it's a race. It's a race. You know who Mark Andreessen is, right? He's a famous venture capitalist. He's the guy who said software is going to eat the world. Remember that famous statement? He said something else recently. The money, venture capital, private equity, the money thinks you're vulnerable. Private equity funds are telling their SaaS portfolio CEOs software might be dead. Software as we know it might be dead. You better try to figure out how to reinvent yourself as an information business, because they think the key to the future is quality information. There's going to be information everywhere. Quality information is most important. But the money that's going in, the VC money, the private equity money, it's all going into these AI startups, and they think those AI startups are going to be able to displace you from some of your most important customers. And historically, that might have been true. We think it's yours to screw up. I mean that. We think you have what it takes to win this race, but you got to make the right moves. Now, again, historically, Mark might be right. If you look at the major waves, you know, these waves of technology that have come along over the last 50 years of enterprise tech that have caused your customers to basically turn over and replace the vast majority of all the technology that they had. PCs and client-server computing replaced mainframes. Application software replaced custom-developed software. These big waves, there were incumbents, and the incumbents failed to remain the leaders, and they opened the door for new companies to come in. Companies that are the new incumbents today. Companies like Oracle, companies like SAP, companies like Microsoft. There were other companies who had big leadership positions in the industry, had a chance to dominate those new markets, and they didn't. Now, more recently, our batting average has gotten a lot better. As we've moved into SaaS and cloud, some of the companies that were big in the PC era, like Microsoft, they survived. They learned that they have to be adaptable. They have to do things that were uncomfortable for them in their legacy business in order to pivot over and succeed in the new world. Let's not forget our eyes on the prize. The prize is those big majority customers who, when they turn over their technology, it's going to be millions and millions and millions of dollars of revenue going to somebody. That's the pot of gold that everybody in this room should be focused on. And you don't have long to get there. AI's coming fast, it's coming hard. There's going to be a lot of turnover in enterprise technology just in the next couple of years. These AI native companies, the way they're going about it is they're saying, what do you need? We've got this code. We have this AI code. They're not products, they're code, they're capabilities. And here's what we'll do. We don't know shit about your business or your industry, but we will put what's called forward deployed engineers. You ever heard of that? Forward deployed engineers on site with this toolbox, and we will try to figure out how to build a solution for you that solves a business problem that you have. And what they're really hoping is that what will come out of that is a product, something they can resell to another customer like the first one. That is happening everywhere. Palantir, OpenAI, Anthropic. Hey, we got great technology. It's not a product, but we'll give you a bunch of engineers and we'll figure out how to make something great happen. You, on the other hand, have got all these products and all this scale and all this global capability, but you probably don't have the cool tech, the cool AI tech yet. Now, you say you do. You're telling the street you do. Inside, you're going, holy shit, we better get some, right? The checkbooks are opening. The acquisitions are starting to happen. Your challenge is to try to figure out how to bolt on sexy AI to the current product portfolio that you have. Those are the starting positions. But we don't know where we're going. We don't know whether it's ever going to be profitable. We don't know how to price it. We don't know what services are needed. We don't know what the interplay between sales and services is going to be in this new world. And we don't know if there will be more than one winning business model. If you look at cloud, there is definitely more than one winning business model. There are high volume, low margin commodity businesses like AWS, nice job yesterday. Like AWS and, Azure, and so there are commodity, low margin, super successful businesses, and then there are going to be very successful high margin businesses that came out of the cloud era, like Salesforce. We really think you're on a journey as a company. And the three elements of your journey are going to be pricing and margin, whether you have to be profitable or not, because let's face it, if you don't have to be profitable and people are writing you checks as fast as they can open their checkbook, you can do a lot of screwed up stuff, right? And then the third is, what is the capability of your delivery? We're going to talk a lot about that. We know where you start. You start with high prices, service-heavy delivery, and you have to be profitable. That's where you start. You probably have pricing, if you're software, that's user-based pricing. Or if you're industrial equipment or hardware, it's machine-based pricing. You're a product DNA company. Sales handles all the customer relationships. Services comes in and cleans up the mess. Do I got it? Got it. And you're complicated. You're complicated. You have a lot of stuff, a lot of products, a lot of services, a lot of employees. The other guys are at the other end. They're product-led, but they don't have products. They have toolboxes. They're delivered by engineers. They're trying to hire these forward-deployed engineers as fast as possible. They know they can't do that forever, and so they're starting to stand up service businesses. OpenAI says in 3 years, as much as 37% of their revenue, I believe that's the right statistic, might be coming from services. But they're starting from scratch. They now know they need services, and they're trying to build them up. I think it's $10 million minimum service engagement. Okay? The other thing about these people is that they're not complex. They're simple. They got one technology. They're willing to fail fast. They're willing to price low. They're willing to do anything the customer needs in order to make them successful. But ultimately, this has to be profitable. The SaaS companies used to tell us, because you know we're famous for saying this, gosh darn it, at some point these business models have to become profitable. And SaaS didn't worry about that until they had to. And those of you who were in SaaS 3 years ago know exactly what I'm talking about. When all the money stopped, stocks went down, and the investors said, there's no more money coming, you need to generate your own profits and your own cash flow. AI's got to get there. And there's a bunch of fantasy stories out there. There was a fantasy story that AI was always going to be super simple, like self-service toolkits. OpenAI and Palantir wouldn't be doing what they're doing right now to build services capability if that was really true. There's another myth that AI is going to take all your product complexity and get rid of it. That is also highly unlikely. So we don't think this services light framing is going to work. We think it's going to be a pretty services intensive generation of technology. The complexity is still there. Services are absolutely still in the picture. Within that range of models, as I said, there's going to be more than one thing. There's going to be commodity businesses, the equivalent of AWS or Azure, but you are not likely to be that. You are going to be in the high value AI business. Lower volumes, outcome focused, value priced, services intensive. Your company's got to figure out a roadmap, what you want to be, and start on the journey. You can't wait and wait and wait and wait. The commodity model is what it is. As I said before, your framework is probably more about identifying high-value business outcomes that you can improve for your customer in service-intensive, consultative sales engagements. You're going to try to tag prices to the value that you deliver. You're not going to stop until the outcome is created. And then you're going to find places to replicate that outcome at more and more and more of your customers. Why outcomes? As you know, you've been around TSIA, we've been talking about outcomes for over a decade. Ultimately, we think that's the end result of technology. Technology's got to lead to a business outcome for the customer. Why is it so important now? Because your pricing models, if you are a software company selling user-based pricing, and your customers are laying off employees, getting more revenue out of fewer employees quarter after quarter after quarter, user-based pricing's got to go. If you're selling equipment or machines and the value and output and capability of those machines is going up and up and up and up and up because of AI and robotics, your customers are going to need fewer machines. So how are we going to start capturing value? We're going to start capturing outcomes. We have Mari Cross, who's the Chief Customer Officer at Infor, who's going to come out and share their journey about how they promise and deliver measurable value for customers. We asked her to come and tell that story because it's a capability everybody in this room is going to need to develop. Why is the technology going to change your responsibility? For 60 years, we sold technology products that gave customers data and insights into their business, right? They took those data and insights and they made decisions and they took actions. If those were the wrong decisions and those were the wrong actions, it was their fault. They owned the outcomes. Most leaders in the tech industry have been afraid of customer outcomes, afraid of them. Because there's so much going on at the customer that could make everything go wrong. I don't want to be on the hook for this. In AI, well, let me say, that world, we supply the products that give the insights. We know what the services around that needed to be. That's your professional services organization, tech support, customer success, education. We know what that, in that world, we knew what that portfolio looked like. But with AI, something is about to fundamentally change. You're still going to sell products and services, but now the AI in your product is going to make decisions and take actions. Your AI is going to make decisions and take actions at the customer. Now, who owns the outcome? Who's responsible for the outcome? We are. And delivering those outcomes is a whole new range of services. We still need, you saw the results of all the failed AI projects, we still need all the traditional services on the left. Absolutely not going away. We're going to automate them, we're going to take employees' headcount out of some of the services. They are not going away, they're going to morph. But there's tons of new services, new capabilities you do not have that you need to build. It's not the end of services, folks. It's the era of services. Those majority customers, those big customers of yours, are not the risk takers. They want to do business with people they trust, that have the same scale that they have, that understand their business, that understand the domains. Who is that? Is it the AI startups or is it you? It's you. It's you. You are in the pole position to do this. And your services scale is front and center. Front and center in the strategy of your company for the AI era. You want to beat those incumbents? You do three things. You leverage from the domain expertise. Keep the experts who understand customers and how to achieve value from your technology. Keep those people. Number two, keep the scale of your services. It has to be reinvented, fine. There are going to be some people in your services organization who are not going to make it. You have to onboard that. You can't be the whiny mouth person who's just afraid of doing layoffs. You can't do that. It's going to happen. You have to be the visionary leader that says, okay, and here's what we're going to do with the money. Not allowing Mr. or Mrs. CFO to say, thanks, I'll take that money, you will never see it again. And the third is you have to learn to embrace value and outcomes, to measure value, to measure outcomes. You do those three things, you'll be in good shape. You want to know how to screw it up? Screw up your lead? Don't update your tech. Don't embed AI. Don't do acquisitions. Don't rewrite software. That's a good way to blow it. I'll give you a second good way to blow it. Don't rethink your go-to-market models. Services is going to be at the center of the conversation with customers about the purchasing decisions that they're about to make. And the sales model where the salesperson says, I got this. I don't need those pesky services people involved in this. I got this deal. That can't stand. Services has to be in the game through the entire customer journey, starting long before the contract has ever signed. And that means you have to think organizationally, politically, inside your company about services and sales and how that's going to work. And the number one way you can blow it up is to blow up the very assets that are going to make all the difference in the world in the age of AI. So the next time you hear that half sentence, and if you have not heard it, I promise you, you will hear it. The next time you hear that half sentence, you have to be able to say, no. It is not the end of services. It is the era of services. Our domain experts, our global scale, our ability to deliver customer outcomes. That is how you win the race for profits and dominance in the AI era. Thank you very much.